The training hall fell silent as Riley Harper stepped onto the combat mat. Around her, cadets from a dozen different species watched with barely concealed curiosity. The human had only arrived at the Galactic Military Academy 3 weeks ago, and already the rumors were spreading. Deathworlders, they whispered. From a planet so violent that everything there tried to kill everything else. Combat Master Theron stood at the edge of the arena, his 4 arms crossed over his broad chest. He was a Valka, a species known throughout the galaxy for producing the finest warriors. His people had been fighting wars when most species were still learning to make fire. He had seen thousands of recruits pass through these halls, and he prided himself on reading potential in the first few minutes of observation. "Begin when ready," Theron announced, his voice carrying easily across the space. Riley's opponent was a Canthari named Velis, twice her size and covered in natural armor plating that had evolved over millions of years on a high-gravity world. Velis had won every sparring match since training began. The Canthari moved forward with confidence, expecting this to be over quickly. What happened next would be discussed in the academy for years to come. Riley didn't wait, didn't bow, didn't assume any formal stance. She just moved. Her body dropped low and to the side, avoiding Velis's reaching grasp by a fraction of an inch. Before the larger alien could adjust, Riley was behind him, using his own momentum against him. Her legs swept out, not trying to overpower him, but finding the exact point where his balance was weakest. Velis stumbled. Riley pressed the advantage instantly, flowing from one movement to the next without pause. She wasn't stronger than her opponent, not even close. But she didn't need to be. Every time Velis moved, Riley was already somewhere else. Every attack he launched hit empty air. And somehow, impossibly, she was landing strikes on weak points that most cadets took months to learn to identify. Theron leaned forward, his tactical mind racing. This wasn't academy training. This was something else entirely. The human fought like water flowing around obstacles, like she could predict movements before they happened. Her reflexes were absurd, her spatial awareness almost supernatural. And there was something else, something that made his warrior instincts prickle with recognition. She was having fun. 3 minutes later, Velis was on the mat, tapping out. Riley helped him up with an apologetic smile, and the Canthari looked more confused than injured. Again, Theron called out. "Velis, you may rest." Trainer, face the human. One of the combat instructors, a seasoned Velka warrior named Cress, stepped onto the mat. Cress had been fighting for 30 years. Surely this would be different. It wasn't. Riley moved through Cress's defenses like they weren't there. She didn't overcommit to any attack, always staying mobile, always adapting. When Cress tried to grab her, she was already rolling away. When he tried to predict her movement, she changed direction mid-stride. It was like fighting smoke. After 5 minutes, Cress stepped back, breathing hard. "Enough. Master Theron, permission to speak." "Granted." "That human has received advanced tactical combat training. Possibly from a military special operations unit. This is not standard recruit material." All eyes turned to Riley, who looked genuinely confused by the accusation. "I mean, I took some self-defense classes back home, but nothing special." Theron approached her, studying the young human carefully. Her heart rate was barely elevated. She wasn't even breathing hard. "Cadet Harper, your performance is extremely unusual. Your reflexes, tactical awareness, and combat instincts are beyond what we typically see in first-year cadets. In fact, they exceed many of our senior students." Riley shrugged, wiping sweat from her forehead. "Oh, thanks, I guess. This level of skill requires training. Years of it. Who taught you to fight like this?" The question hung in the air. Around the room, cadets waited for the answer. They expected to hear about elite Earth military programs, maybe special forces training, perhaps some secret Deathworlder combat school. Riley thought about it for a moment, then smiled. "My little sister, Chloe. She's 6. The silence that followed was absolute. Theron's forearms slowly uncrossed. Several cadets made sounds of confusion in their native languages. One Canthari muttered something that the translator rendered as impossible. "Your sister," Theron repeated slowly, convinced something had been lost in translation. "A 6-year-old child." "Yeah," Riley said, still smiling at the memory. "She's been keeping me on my toes since she learned to walk. That kid's relentless." Theron looked at Cress. Cress looked back at Theron. Neither had any idea what to say. In all his years of teaching warriors from across the galaxy, Theron had never heard anything quite so absurd. Or so terrifying, if it happened to be true. Theron spent the next 2 days researching human childhood development, and what he found disturbed him deeply. He sat in his private quarters, watching video after video from Earth's information networks, his 4 hands gripping the armrests of his chair with increasing tension. On his screen, 2 small human children were wrestling on a soft floor covering. They were laughing. The adult humans watching them were also laughing. Nobody seemed concerned that the children were actively trying to pin each other down, grab each other's limbs, and flip each other over. The video was labeled Playtime. Theron replayed it 3 times, trying to understand. On his homeworld, if 2 younglings engaged in such behavior, it would trigger immediate intervention. Physical contact between children was carefully supervised and limited. The idea of children deliberately grappling with each other for entertainment was beyond his comprehension. He moved to the next video. A group of human children, maybe 8 or 9 years old, were playing something called tag. They chased each other at full sprint, dodging around obstacles, pushing their cardiovascular systems to the limit. When one child caught another, they would immediately reverse roles and the pursuit would continue. They did this for hours, apparently, building endurance that would make a Velka warrior proud. Another video showed hide and seek, where children practiced stealth, patience, and tactical positioning. Another showed capture the flag, which was essentially military squad tactics disguised as recreation. And then there was something called dodgeball, where children threw projectiles at each other while practicing evasion techniques. Theron paused the video and rubbed his eyes with 2 of his hands. Human children were training for combat, constantly, and they called it playing. The door chimed. Enter, Theron called. Riley walked in, looking slightly nervous. You wanted to see me, sir? Sit, Cadet Harper. I have questions about your earlier statement. Riley sat down, glancing at the paused video on his screen. She grinned when she saw the dodgeball game. Oh man, I love dodgeball. Chloe's not old enough for the real version yet, but she practices with foam balls at home. This is what I need to understand, Theron said, leaning forward. You claim your combat training came from your 6-year-old sister. I have been researching human childhood, and I admit I am deeply confused by what I have found. What part is confusing? All of it, Theron said flatly. Human children engage in constant physical conflict with each other. Wrestling, chasing, striking, tackling. Your parents not only allow this behavior, they encourage it. Why? Riley thought about it for a moment. I mean, it's how we learn. When Chloe was really little, like 2 or 3, she'd just run at me and crash into my legs. Then she got bigger and started actually wrestling. Now she's got moves. She'll fake going one direction, then dart the other way. She sets up traps, like leaving her toys where I'll step on them barefoot. This does not alarm you. Why would it? She's my little sister. We're bonding. Theron made a note on his datapad. On my world, such behavior would indicate severe socialization problems. Physical aggression between younglings is a sign of deep psychological disturbance. Riley laughed. On Earth, if kids don't roughhouse, that's when parents get worried. It means something might be wrong. Kids need to move, to test themselves, to figure out what their bodies can do. Chloe comes home from school every day with scraped knees and dirt all over her. Mom says it's a good sign, means she's playing hard with her friends. Her friends also engage in combat. Well, yeah. At recess, they play tag, they climb on the jungle gym, they play soccer. Soccer's basically running for 4 to 5 minutes straight while trying to kick a ball past other kids who are trying to stop you. It's great cardio and teaches teamwork. Theron was quiet for a long moment. Cadet Harper, do you understand what you are describing? You are telling me that human children voluntarily subject themselves to exhausting physical training, practice tactical maneuvers, develop pain tolerance through repeated minor injuries, and refine combat reflexes through constant sparring. And you call this entertainment? I mean, when you say it like that, it sounds intense. But yeah, pretty much. It's fun. Fun, Theron repeated, as if testing the word. The thing about Chloe, Riley continued, is that she never stops moving. Ever. From the moment she wakes up until bedtime, she's running, jumping, climbing, fighting, exploring. She's taken 3 years of martial arts classes. She does gymnastics twice a week. She plays soccer on weekends. And when she's home, she's challenging me to wrestling matches or ambushing me from behind the couch. And you allow this? I encourage it. Do you know how good it feels when your little sister gets big enough to actually challenge you? Last month, Chloe managed to sweep my leg for the first time. I was so proud I called our mom at work to tell her. Theron stood and walked to the window, looking out over the academy grounds. I need you to understand something, Cadet Harper. Most species in the Galactic Union come from worlds where survival was about cooperation, about finding safe spaces and defending them. Physical conflict was rare and usually lethal. We train our warriors carefully, over years, because combat instincts do not come naturally to us. But humans are different, Riley said quietly. Your world tried to kill you for millions of years, Theron continued. Predators, diseases, weather, other humans. Your species survived by becoming adaptable, by developing reflexes faster than conscious thought, by teaching your children to be ready for violence from the moment they could walk. Riley was quiet for a moment. I never really thought about it that way. I just figured everyone grew up wrestling with their siblings. No, Theron said. Just humans. Just Deathworlders. He turned back to face her. Tomorrow, you will demonstrate for the advanced combat class. And you will explain, in detail, exactly how your 6-year-old sister trained you to fight. Because if what you are telling me is true, we have fundamentally misunderstood what human children are capable of. Riley nodded slowly. Should I bring videos of Chloe? Yes, Theron said. I suspect my instructors will need to see it to believe it. The advanced combat classroom was packed. Word had spread through the academy about the human who claimed to be trained by a 6-year-old, and nobody wanted to miss this. Instructors lined the back wall, arms crossed, clearly skeptical. Senior cadets filled every seat. Even the academy's commandant, a stern Vraxian named Mora, had arrived to observe. Riley stood at the front of the room, her personal communicator connected to the projection system. She looked remarkably calm for someone about to potentially embarrass herself in front of the academy's entire teaching staff. So, she began, I know this sounds weird to most of you. But I promise I'm not making it up. My little sister Chloe has been my main sparring partner since she was about 3 years old. I'm going to call her now. It's morning back home, so she should be awake. Theron noticed several instructors exchanging doubtful glances. One whispered something that sounded like waste of time. Riley tapped her communicator. After a moment, a video feed appeared on the large screen. A small human face filled the frame, grinning widely. She had dark hair pulled back in a ponytail and was missing one of her front teeth. Riley, the child shouted. Are you calling from space? Is that the alien school? Hey, troublemaker, Riley said warmly. Yeah, I'm at the academy. Is Mom around? She's making breakfast. Wait, are those the aliens? Chloe leaned closer to her camera, and her eyes went wide. Whoa, that one has 4 arms. That's so cool. Can they all fight at the same time? A ripple of amusement went through the Velka instructors. Theron found himself almost smiling despite his skepticism. Chloe, focus, Riley said. Remember how I told you about my combat training here? Some of my instructors want to see the moves you've been teaching me. Can you show them some of your stuff? Really? Okay, hold on. Chloe disappeared from view. The camera showed a typical human living space, with soft furniture and colorful decorations. After a moment, the child reappeared wearing what looked like a white uniform with a yellow belt tied around her waist. This is my Taekwondo uniform, Chloe announced proudly. I just got my yellow belt last month. Want to see my form? Without waiting for an answer, Chloe began a series of movements. To the trained eye of every warrior in that room, it was immediately clear this was not random playing. The 6-year-old human was executing actual martial techniques. Her stances were precise for her age, her strikes controlled, her balance impressive. She practices this 3 times a week, Riley explained quietly. Has been for 3 years. Commandant Mora leaned forward in her seat, her earlier dismissive expression replaced with focused attention. Chloe finished her form and looked at the camera expectantly. Was that good? Oh, want to see my jump kick? I've been working really hard on it. Before anyone could respond, the small human ran across the room, leaped into the air, and executed a spinning kick that would have been respectable coming from a first-year academy cadet. She landed, stumbled slightly, then grinned and threw her arms up in victory. Master Theron, one of the instructors whispered, that child has better aerial control than some of our students. I am aware, Theron replied, his voice tight. Chloe, Riley said, can you tell them about school? What do you do during recess? Oh, we play tag, and there's this jungle gym that's super tall and you can climb all the way to the top. And we play soccer. I'm getting really good at stealing the ball from the bigger kids. You have to watch their feet and wait for them to look away, then BM. She demonstrated a quick darting motion. And sometimes we play this game called Grounders on the playground where you have to move around with your eyes closed and... Wait, Theron interrupted. Eyes closed? While climbing? Chloe nodded enthusiastically. Yeah. You have to use your hands and feet to feel where everything is. It's really fun, but sometimes kids fall off. That's why there's that squishy ground stuff under the playground. The room had gone very quiet. A Canthry instructor raised one massive hand. Cadet Harper, are you telling us that human children practice climbing while blind, accept falling as an expected outcome, and consider this entertainment? Well, yeah, Riley said. That's pretty normal playground stuff. Chloe, tell them about your gymnastics class. Ooh, gymnastics is awesome. Chloe practically bounced with excitement. We do flips and cartwheels and we learn to fall without getting hurt. Coach says I'm really good at rolls. Want to see? Please, Commandant Mora said, speaking for the first time. Her voice carried the weight of command, and even through a video feed, Chloe seemed to sense it. Okay. Chloe moved back from the camera. The view now showed more of the room. Without hesitation, the 6-year-old threw herself forward into a series of tumbling passes that would have looked at home in an academy evasion training course. She moved from roll to cartwheel to handstand with fluid ease. She does this twice a week, Riley said. 2-hour sessions. The class is full of kids her age, all doing the same thing. An instructor near the back spoke up, his translator rendering his words in a stunned monotone. This is systematic combat preparation. Flexibility training, fall mitigation, spatial awareness, body control. That child is being trained as a warrior. No, Riley corrected gently. She's just being a kid. This is what human children do. For fun. Because they want to. Chloe returned to the camera, breathing a little harder but still grinning. Did you like it? Oh. Want to see the move I invented? It's called the Chloe Special. Basically you pretend to go for a tackle, but then you drop and sweep the leg, and then... She invented her own technique, Theron said faintly. She invents them all the time, Riley said. Most don't work, but some are actually pretty effective. Last time I was home, she got me with a new one where she faked a right hook, ducked under my counter, and somehow ended up behind me. I still don't know how she did it. I practiced on Dad like 100 times. Chloe said proudly. He kept falling for it. Mora stood up slowly. Cadet Harper, are all human children like your sister? Riley thought about it. I mean, Chloe's pretty energetic, but yeah, most kids are like this. Some are more into sports, some are more into climbing or martial arts or dancing. But they all move constantly. They all play rough. They all learn to take hits and keep going. It's just what we do. The Commandant looked at Theron, then back at the screen where a 6-year-old human was now demonstrating what she called her sneak attack technique. We need to completely re-evaluate our understanding of human development, Mora said quietly. If their children are this capable, what exactly have we recruited when we accepted humans into the academy? On screen, Chloe had moved on to showing off her soccer moves, explaining advanced tactics she'd learned from watching the big kids play. Nobody in the room had an answer to the Commandant's question. But they were all starting to suspect it should terrify them. The Academy's training protocols changed within a week of Chloe's demonstration. Theron found himself standing in front of the Instructors' Council, presenting findings that challenged centuries of established combat training methodology. The fundamental problem, he explained, gesturing to data displayed behind him, is that we have been teaching combat as an intellectual exercise. We show cadets a technique, explain the mechanics, and expect them to execute it under pressure. For most species, this works because our reflexes are not naturally oriented toward physical conflict. Commandant Mora nodded from her seat. And humans? Humans are different. They do not learn combat. They remember it. Every human child spends thousands of hours developing reflexes through what they call play. By the time they reach us, their bodies already know how to fight. They just need to refine techniques they have been practicing since they could walk. One of the older instructors, a Vraxian named Kelth, shook his head. This sounds like supposition. We saw one human child. How do we know this is universal? Theron pulled up new footage. I contacted the Human Liaison Office and requested more data. What you are about to see is considered normal childhood development on Earth. The screen showed a human educational facility, what they called an elementary school. During a period called recess, hundreds of small humans poured out onto an open space. Within seconds, they had organized themselves into groups. Some were chasing each other at full sprint. Others were climbing complex structures designed specifically for this purpose. A large group was engaged in a game involving a ball and a lot of running. This happens every day, Theron continued. For every human child. 30 minutes of mandatory physical activity in the middle of their learning period. Some schools have multiple recess periods. The humans discovered that children cannot focus on cognitive tasks without regular physical exertion. They cannot sit still, Kelth observed. No. They are hardwired to move. Watch this child here. Theron highlighted one small human who had climbed to the top of a tall structure. She is approximately 7 years old. The height she has climbed would be dangerous for most species' children. Now watch. The child launched herself off the structure, grabbing a hanging bar, swinging her body forward, and landing in a roll on the ground below. She immediately got up and ran to do it again. Training falls, an instructor whispered. She is practicing training falls. She is playing, Theron corrected. This is entertainment to her. And she will do this hundreds of times before reaching adulthood. The council watched in silence as the footage continued. Human children wrestling, chasing, climbing, falling, getting back up. The level of physical activity would have exhausted most adult aliens within minutes, but these children sustained it for half an hour straight, then went back inside to continue learning. So what do you propose? Mora asked. We need to change how we train everyone else, Theron said. We cannot make other species into humans. But we can adopt the principles that make human training so effective. We can teach our cadets to move like they are playing, to take calculated risks, to embrace controlled failure as a learning tool. 2 weeks later, the new training program began. Theron stood in the main combat hall, watching as cadets from a dozen species attempted what he was now calling dynamic movement exercises. It was not going well. No, stop. Theron called out. A Canthari cadet had frozen at the top of a climbing obstacle, unwilling to jump down to the padded mat below. Cadet Vex, the fall is only 3 meters. The landing surface is designed to absorb impact. Instructor, this is not a safe height, Vex protested, his armored plates pulled tight against his body in a clear fear response. Riley, who had been recruited as a training assistant, walked over. Vex, watch. She climbed up next to him, and without hesitation, jumped. She hit the mat, rolled through the impact, and popped back to her feet. See? Your turn. I cannot. Sure you can. Your body armor is way better than my skin. You'll be fine. It took another 10 minutes of encouragement before Vex finally jumped. He landed heavily, forgetting to roll, but the padding absorbed the impact. He lay there for a moment, then slowly got up. I survived, he said, sounding surprised. Now do it again, Riley said. 9 more times. By the 10th jump, you'll stop thinking about it. Across the hall, other cadets were struggling with similar exercises. Avelka was attempting to wrestle with a training partner, but kept stopping to apologize whenever contact was made. Avraxian was trying to climb a rope while other cadets threw softballs at her, learning to maintain focus under harassment, but she kept dropping down and asking them to stop. Theron watched a young Canthari cadet named Presh attempting something Riley called cartwheels. The movement was simple in theory but required trusting your body to maintain orientation while inverted. Presh managed one shaky cartwheel, then immediately sat down, breathing hard. Riley walked over and executed 10 cartwheels in a row, barely winded. My sister learned to do these when she was 4, she said encouragingly. You've got this. Your sister is a terrifying creature, Presh muttered, but he got up to try again. The real breakthrough came during what Riley called tag training. She had convinced Theron to let her teach the ancient human game to a group of cadets. The rules were simple. One person was it and had to tag another person by touching them. Once tagged, that person became it and the chase continued. At first, the alien cadets were confused. What is the objective? One asked. Don't get caught, Riley said. And when you are caught, catch someone else. Just go. She tagged the nearest cadet and took off running. Slowly, awkwardly, the game began. Within minutes, something clicked. The cadets stopped overthinking and just moved. They dodged, sprinted, anticipated movements, worked together to corner the person who was it. They were learning pack tactics without realizing it. Theron watched a Vraxian cadet fake left, then dart right, successfully evading a pursuer. The move was instinctive, not calculated. Incredible, he murmured. By the end of the session, the cadets collapsed on the floor, exhausted but exhilarated. Several were actually laughing, something rarely heard in combat training. This is what human children do every day. Vex asked Riley between gasping breaths. Pretty much. Multiple times a day, actually. Your species is insane. Riley grinned. Maybe. But you just learn more about evasion and pursuit in 30 minutes than you did in 3 weeks of traditional training. Vex considered this. I want to play again tomorrow. That's the spirit. Theron approached Riley as the cadets filed out. Your methods are effective, but I am concerned. We cannot turn these cadets into humans. Their bodies, their instincts, their entire evolutionary history is different. You're not trying to make them human, Riley said. You're teaching them to play. That's something every species can learn. It just takes practice. Your sister really did train you, didn't she? Riley's expression softened. Yeah. She taught me that fighting isn't about being the biggest or strongest. It's about never giving up, always adapting, and having fun while you do it. Those are human traits, sure. But they're also just good traits for anyone who wants to survive. Theron looked out over the training hall, imagining thousands of cadets from hundreds of species learning to move like humans moved, to play like humans played. We may have just revolutionized galactic combat training, he said quietly. Cool, Riley said. Wait until you see what Chloe teaches me next. She's been working on this thing she calls the spinning backfist surprise. It's going to be awesome. Theron decided he did not want to know. The alarm blared through the academy at 0300 hours, jolting every cadet from sleep. Red emergency lights flooded the dormitories as the announcement crackled through the speakers. All cadets report to Assembly Point Gamma immediately. This is not a drill. Repeat, this is not a drill. Riley was dressed and moving within seconds, her body reacting before her mind fully processed what was happening. Years of Chloe's early morning ambushes had trained her to wake up ready for action. She reached the assembly point to find chaos. Cadets stumbled around in various states of alertness, some still trying to put on their uniforms properly. Theron stood at the center, his forearms crossed, his expression grim. You have 15 minutes to gear up. Enemy forces have been detected in Sector 7. Your mission is to secure the research station and extract the science team before hostiles arrive. This is a live combat simulation with full holographic integration. Injuries will be simulated but will feel real. Failure means the death of civilians. Move. Riley found herself assigned to Squad 3, leading a mixed group of species she had been training with over the past month. Vex was there, the Canthari who had been afraid of heights. Presh, the Velka who could now do cartwheels. A Vraxian named Tezra who had finally learned to climb while being pelted with objects. And 2 others, a Draxan named Cole and a Santari named Mir. They rushed to the simulation chamber, weapons loaded with training charges, hearts pounding. The holographic environment materialized around them, a research station built into a canyon wall. Smoke was already rising from damaged sections. The mission clock showed 12 minutes until hostile forces arrived. Standard extraction protocol, Vex said, taking charge as the senior-ranked member. We move in formation, secure the scientists, establish a perimeter, and wait for extraction. Tezra, take point. Presh, rear guard. Stay tight, stay together. They moved into the station carefully, by the book, exactly as they had been trained. Everything was going smoothly until the simulation threw them a curveball. An explosion rocked the main corridor, collapsing it completely. Their exit route was gone. Alternative route, Vex said, pulling up the facility map on his tactical display. His hands were shaking slightly. There is no alternative route. The main corridor was the only way in or out that can accommodate our squad size. Emergency tunnel system, Tezra suggested. Maintenance shafts. Too narrow for Canthari, Vex said, looking at his own armored bulk. I cannot fit. The mission clock ticked down. 9 minutes until hostiles arrived. The science team, 3 holographic civilians, huddled in the research lab looking terrified. The simulation was designed to have a solution, but none of them could see it. They were trained to follow protocols, and the protocols had just fallen apart. Riley felt something familiar stirring in her mind. A memory of Chloe, age 5, setting up an elaborate trap in the hallway using chairs and blankets. When Riley had tried to go through the proper way, she got stuck. But Chloe had gone over the chairs, under the blankets, even crawled through the space behind the furniture that should have been too small. We're thinking about this wrong, Riley said suddenly. What do you mean? Vex asked. We're trying to follow the plan. But the plan is broken. We need to stop fighting like soldiers and start fighting like, she paused, and couldn't help but smile, like little sisters. I do not understand. Little sisters never fight fair. They use everything, break all the rules, and do whatever works. Vex, you can't fit through the maintenance shaft. But you can fit through that window. That window is 40 meters above the canyon floor. We have no climbing equipment. That is a fatal fall. For you, maybe. Not for me. Riley was already moving, her mind racing through possibilities Chloe would have seen immediately. Tezra, remember tag training? How we cornered targets by splitting up and coming from different angles. Yes, but we split up. I go out the window, climb down the outside of the facility, and come up through the lower maintenance entrance. I get the scientists into the maintenance system. Meanwhile, you five make noise up here, make the enemy think we're all still trapped. That is insane, Presh said. The climbing surface is not rated for tactical movement. You could fall. Then I'll roll when I land. Done it 1,000 times. Riley was already at the window, looking down. It was a sheer drop, but the facility's exterior had pipes, vents, structural supports. To everyone else, it looked impossible. To Riley, it looked like an advanced version of the jungle gym Chloe played on every day. We should wait for command to advise, Vex said. No time. Trust me. This is what humans do. We improvise. Riley didn't wait for permission. She went out the window. The climbing was terrifying and exhilarating. Her hands found holds that shouldn't have existed, her body positioning itself automatically. She thought about Chloe on the playground, fearless and creative, always finding new ways to move through space. Halfway down, her foot slipped. For a heart-stopping moment, she fell, but her hands caught a pipe and she swung herself back against the wall. Little sister training, she muttered to herself. Never stay still. Always have 3 points of contact. Make it look easy. She reached the lower entrance in 4 minutes. The maintenance tunnels were tight but manageable. She found the scientist's location from below, accessed the floor panel, and popped up right in the middle of their lab. The holographic scientist jumped in surprise. How did you? The corridor was collapsed. Different route. Come on, we're leaving through the floor. Can you fit through tight spaces? I think so, but no time. Follow me. Stay low, move fast, don't think too hard about it. She was channeling Chloe's energy, the relentless forward momentum that made her little sister so hard to stop. Meanwhile, her squad was making a spectacular diversion. They had taken Riley's advice to heart. Instead of holding a defensive position, they were using every trick from play training. Presh was doing cartwheels through corridors, drawing simulated enemy fire while presenting an unpredictable target. Tezra was climbing walls and hanging from ceiling fixtures, shooting from angles the enemy didn't expect. Vex had stopped apologizing for physical contact and was using his bulk to literally throw obstacles at pursuing forces. Riley got the scientists into the extraction zone with 30 seconds to spare. The simulation ended. Mission complete. The squad emerged from the chamber exhausted, covered in simulated dirt and bruises, but alive. Theron was waiting with the entire Instructor cadre. That, Commandant Mora said slowly, was the most unorthodox extraction I have ever witnessed. It worked, Riley said, still breathing hard. It should not have worked. You abandoned standard protocols, split your squad in hostile territory, and attempted a climbing maneuver with no safety equipment. Yeah, but it worked. Mora's stern expression cracked slightly. Yes. It did. Because you stopped thinking like a soldier and started thinking like a human. Theron stepped forward. I finally understand what your sister taught you. It was not technique. It was the willingness to ignore the rules when the rules fail. To see every obstacle as a playground. To treat impossible situations as games waiting to be won. Riley thought about Chloe, who had never met a challenge she didn't think she could overcome, who turned every restriction into a creative opportunity, who fought dirty and laughed the whole time. Humans don't train children to be warriors, Riley said quietly. We train them to be survivors. To adapt, to improvise, to never give up no matter how bad things look. Chloe taught me that every single day, without either of us realizing it. Vex approached, his armored plate still slightly scorched from simulated weapons fire. Your sister is 6 years old and has better tactical instincts than most of us. Wait until she's 7, Riley said with a grin. She's going to be terrifying. That evening, Riley video called home. Chloe appeared on screen, still in her school clothes, a fresh bandage on her knee. What happened there? Riley asked, pointing at the bandage. Oh, I tried to jump off the top of the slide into a front flip. Didn't quite land it. Gonna try again tomorrow though. Mom says I need to practice more. Riley laughed. Hey, Chloe? Thanks. For what? For teaching me to fight. Chloe grinned, showing the gap where her tooth was missing. You taught me first, remember? Love you, sis. Love you too, troublemaker. As the call ended, Riley looked at the package that had arrived earlier that day. Inside was Chloe's old yellow martial arts belt, the one she had earned after 3 years of training. The note attached said simply, "You taught me first." Riley held the belt for a long moment, then smiled. Somewhere on Earth, a 6-year-old human was planning her next attack, developing her next technique, preparing for challenges she didn't even know existed yet. And somewhere in the galaxy, instructors were finally learning what that meant.